For our September holiday this year, we took a Barnes coach tour to Lincolnshire. After being picked up from home by a feeder coach, we joined the tour coach at Pear Tree Service area near Oxford. Our first stop was at Stamford in Lincolnshire. It was very quiet in the town as it happened to be the day of the Queen's funeral in London. We had a quick coffee, and while drinking it, I noticed the unusual use of a redundant church over the road. I assume this was how many of the original streets were. I didn't have time to read about all these photographs on the wall, but it looked very interesting. Here is a view of the site of one of the Eleanor crosses, which were erected by Edward I in memory of his dead wife's journey to London. It is decorated with stone roses. We arrived at the old barn near Marston about 3 p.m, so we had time to walk along the lane to the village of Marston. It is mainly a commuter village, but does have a pub, school and church. As always, there are many interesting gravestones to study. Tuesday, we visited the city of Lincoln, where we were given a guided tour of the cathedral. The west end and doors were constructed during the Norman period by William the Conqueror. This is characterised by the round arches over the doors and enriched by zigzag and roll mouldings. The font, made of Tournai marble, was made in the mid-12th century. There happened to be a display of woodwork by a local artist while we were visiting. The rose window, or Bishop's Eye as it is known, contains fragments of medieval glass. Here is a close-up of the Lincoln imp, who caused so much havoc that one of the angels turned him into stone. We next visited the famous Stokes Tea and Coffee House. Here we were given a demonstration of roasting coffee beans by this machine and then a tasting of the different kinds of coffee.
What area of physics we've accessed there, but it has to be stationary to actually pull properly. It's a really odd. Alright, I think that's the full day.
You're allowed to slurp. I know obviously the stronger the slurp that you do, the more professional. Not keen yet. Maybe when you go round again, if you do. As this one cools, we start to get a little bit better.
After leaving Stokes, we had a chance to explore the city of Lincoln, when we had a better view of the huge cathedral with its 3 towers. There is also a castle in Lincoln, built again by William the Conqueror, which we were able to visit. This shot shows the dragon breathing out fire to frighten the children. On leaving the castle grounds, we had another view of the cathedral towers. This was the day after the Queen's funeral. These bouquets had been placed round the fountain in the grounds of the cathedral. Wednesday we went to Doddington Hall and Gardens. We were greeted with a coffee in the cafe, which housed the Tom Plowman's classic bike collection. On returning to the front of the house, we admired the topiary, which was a unicorn, being the crest of the family who have lived here for 500 years. You will see that the unicorn appears all over the house. One display was of a tent which had only just been recently discovered, 1/3 of which is on show. The gardens were quite extensive and were designed by the family. As time was short, we only had time for a quick visit to the garden, seeing the most interesting parts. For example, the ha-ha wall, maze, a cork oak tree, and a huge sweet chestnut tree.
The owner at the time decided to squander all the money. So the only way
Our lunch was booked at Farndon Ferry pub, which is on the River Trent, where we had a ploughman's lunch. Of course, I had to have a short walk along the river and got as far as Farndon Marina, passing through a clapper gate, which is unique to the River Trent. Farndon Marina. Thursday we were treated to a ride through the Wolds, calling in at Louth on the way. Back on the bus.
You make it all the way round.
Yeah, double wide sail. Fairly big car, accommodate all this. Yeah.
Our lunchtime stop was at Lincolnshire's oldest pub, the King's Head at Tealby, which dates back to the 14th century. We had time for a short walk before driving on to nearby Special Editions chocolate for a tasting of real chocolate made from the cocoa bean. Friday we left the hotel early for our journey home, calling in at Melton Mowbray, where of course we had to buy a pork pie. another reminder of the sad loss of the Queen. Roll of Martin Mowbray, Roll of Honour. We just had time to visit the park where there was an interesting statue which had been shown in Japan in 1970. Here is the last view of the River Eye which runs through Melton Mowbray.